Well, I'm not really sure on what to say or how I should start this or where I should go with this conversation. I feel like I'm being compelled to talk to you guys on many different forms, on many different aspects. But in a way, I guess I want to just kind of run everyone through what happens with my spirit box messages. With that, when I turn on any device, and the best device that I have found so far, they did a beautiful job creating it, is the Necrophonic app. I have used other ones, and the kind of talk and everything that I always hear coming out is usually about the same type of talk. I can look at other people's stuff and I catch the same type of talk using my method that I do when I use the spirit box. So, with that in mind, when I turn on the spirit box, what is the spirit box? The spirit box is a device that has these sound banks, and in these sound banks, that they are these sound waves that are then manipulated by energies that then create the wave reverb that comes back to you. It manipulates it in a way that the stored information is used, and that's what you hear coming out. Now, when everything is set up in a good fashion, a good form, like they did with their app, it flows pretty good. Now, the thing is that you got to remember, if you're looking for direct answers from particular things that you're trying to reach, spirits, loved ones, ghosts, whatever you want to consider it, when you turn it on, focus on them, think about them, talk about them, and once you're there to that point, you then ask a question and you push the button. As soon as you hear a break, you stop, and that will be your answer. Now, like for me, when I use the spirit box, for the most part, all I do is I sit, I listen, and I put the words up. And with that, a story has unfolded from the many different spirit box messages I got. Oh, that was something, yep, there was something that was just brought up recently in one of my most recent videos, stating that I should talk a little bit about the boat. In the beginning with the spirit box messages, when I started doing it and I was listening, I was also at this time, I had already created a boat design for certain earthly disasters, and with that thought in mind, there was a boat created, and this boat created would actually be a beneficial tool for things that are to come. And throughout the messages, all these things have been put out there in pieces that brought back up these things that I had already did before using the box. And then with the box, I kind of recreated a spark in it, and then it kind of went out when it seemed like nobody was coming forward. But I designed this boat to get through a natural disaster, which, much like what would happen in the event of the unfolding of upcoming events, and smaller scales as well. And with that in mind, this boat, it's designed to take external force, pressure. It's designed to be a capsule to where it doesn't really go down, and it's gravity centered. So even if something was to happen, it's designed in a way that it's will take the movement that ends up coming at it. It will take impact as well. It is held together by a structural design using geometry and other things. But anyways, this boat, there is a design out there that I wanted to do to give to areas where they just live in high risk, something that would be multi-purpose. So I want to consider size and space, something that would be lightweight. So I took all those things into factor and I created this beautiful design of a boat. I went through and thought about material. I thought about everything on every aspect. I used all my knowledge and skills that I have in drafting and architectural designs and stuff, and I put all this stuff together, plus a few little engineering things, and created a perfect vessel that would be awesome to have in the event of things that are actually yet to come. And when I started it, that was not in mind. But with the unfolding of everything for what it's been, the large-scale magnitude of everything that's getting ready to take place, this is a helpful tool, along with other things that I have done throughout my life. There's my generator, my free power generator, self-perpetuating, no solar, no wind, no fuel, and will produce the power as needed by draw. But you know, I've done that, tested. There was only one part left I wanted to do because I wanted like a breaker box design to hook into a house. But I guess a smaller scale would also work too. And then you have all the power you need for whatever reason you might need power. And with that, well, the possibilities become more endless, and you have less, you know, restriction, and it's a good thing to have, especially when it doesn't matter what the weather is, especially if it doesn't matter about other factors. I mean, there's no fuel needed, so it produces the power it needs and cycles and draws, and it's, yeah, I got the design still. With that in mind, I also tested it, so therefore, furthermore, I just lost everything when somebody died. And when I went through that experience for what it was, I lost all the things that I could have had it done because I never got to go back and obtain what was actually mine, which were all those things I got for that were all in bits and pieces and throughout for different reasons. Disassembled and waiting for that last part to then do a rebuild. But I don't have those things anymore. But I can do it again. But what would be the point of that if I have nothing to put it in myself? I can't seem to obtain housing help, and that's been another fun factor right there in itself. And you would think that there would be help for a woman with a child who's been displaced because of literally a death, and you would think that the help and resources would be there. Well, there is for short term for different areas, but again, the problem with that is everything comes down to the same factor, that I end up getting denied for one reason or another. And one of the biggest factors, just to put it out there, was something from when I was 16 years old. A felony from when I was 16 is used against me to where now at the age of 37, 38, because it is what it is, I'm not able to receive the assistance that would have been there. And so with that in mind, makes me uneligible for the program. See, not everything's always quite everything as it appears. So you're talking something from way back then when I was 16, and I'm about to be 38 now, all these years later, is going to affect even now. Wow, I wouldn't have thought, that would totally exclude me. But apparently it does. So, with that in mind, I have been attempting to reach out and see what I can do, while still taking all my free time to do these messages, to do these videos, to do these sessions, and sometimes I might get a little choked up with all the information, but there's more to everything than what anyone could realize. It's like when you wake up to see that everything was so close, but you just couldn't see it because you were just misguided, a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, that everything was right there. But did you hear it? Did you see it? Did you catch it? And It hurts to know that even me in my situation, that my child, you know, she still has a great time. She's still being well taken care of. She's still having a great life, and things have just kind of worked out great for her. Just the way things have kind of fallen, even with all the pieces of all the complications of everything else. It's like, what do you do when this is the pileup of everything? And then you get handed all these bits of pieces of information of everything that then furthermore just relates to your life. And when you're using the spirit box, you're listening to all these different messages and all these different things that are coming through. And you start to see how everything pieces together and makes a bigger, different puzzle piece than what you quite knew at the time. And it becomes more than what you would have known. And you're taking this on top of everything else that's going on. And the magnitude of everything. It's like missing something when it's right in front of your face. And you're not doing anything to it's hard to find words. But when everything is what it is, and still nobody can see everything for what it is, when all the pieces are there. I mean, I understand that some people out there believe and know everything that's unfolding and coming to pass, but at the same time, I'm waiting to hear from many of them. I mean, if you try my method the way I use the spirit box, and you try to grab a hold of how I do it, because it's pretty simple, I think, in my opinion, and you go and you record your device by either using sound, or what I like doing is this little recorder add-on that records the screen while you're recording. And you go through and you put it into a video editing where you're able to chop it up and then change the speed. That's the biggest factor about it. Then you break up the different sounds. Usually it's slowing it down between 90 and 80%. Usually just that little bit of sound change makes the words sound a little bit clearer. And then you put all the different words together, and then you end up having the sentence, whatever it is. And there's been some interesting things that have been said on many different aspects. But again, it just continues to take you down this story, because what's coming through is truly coming through from the other side. The other side, what's the other side? I'm talking about energies, ghosts, things you can't see, the things that are on the other side of the veil that you're not able to fully see. And if you can somewhat see it, you still struggle to see it completely in a certain way because of the way we're all taught. And then those that have the ability and was able to hold on to how is it to do that, struggle to help those other ones truly grasp how to do it, because we've been misfed information for so long that everything, then becomes kind of a question. But then you're now looking at everything totally differently, because you're like, okay, so what's really going on? What's the real story? What's the real scoop? Now you're paying attention because you're starting to see all the pieces and the puzzles and everything coming together, and how everything then makes another piece, and then that piece then makes another piece. And when you realize everything for what it is, it's like, oh, I did know, I did hear, but I didn't realize because I didn't take a step back and look. And now you got to consider what's next, because you are a ever moving, viable to even that moment of after, and even therefore after, because all of us are special. Some of us who have the privilege of knowing certain things in advance can do something about things. But usually that's only when somebody hears what it is that they're saying, when somebody hears what it is that they're calling out for, when somebody hears what it is that they are diverting to compelling conflictions of creating everything in a way that there's a story. If you look at all the different pieces, all the different ways from which everything flowed, from the sadness to the sorrow, to the happiness, to the joy, to the flattery, to the what's going on, what moments, everything is there. From the different spots, the different travels, and like a puzzle piece, there's all these different connecting factors that everything is there. And when we continue to go forward, that needs to be in mind, that that is what's going on, what has been going on, and what still continues to go on. So with that in mind, I think I have talked long enough. I will end this, but yet when I'm done ending this, before I go into editing anything, I'm going to do a spirit box message that I may or may not connect to this at all. I don't know, but that's what my intentions are. So that's how much I take all my time creating these messages. I create the messages, then I go through and I try to do something with it for everyone in a way that hopefully you can understand that when I turn on the spirit box, all I do is I turn it on, I listen, I put the words up, and there it is for you as well. It is what it is. Everything and anything that comes through. If there's a typo, hey, I'm only human doing what I can do in the amount of time that I do, trying to get this done on a constant factor to really push everything for what it is. But this is what I'm doing with my time. And this is just one of the many things I'm doing with my time. So with that in mind, it's ta-da. Peace out. Talk about the lighting. Jeez. Wow. Okay. For some reason, I just look really funny in the camera to myself. Anyhow, with this in mind, I would like to take this time just to turn on the spirit box and listen. And then when done, I will edit and have the words up here for everyone once it gets played back. I will try to include and share little bits and pieces of the process, but it doesn't always work out that way sometimes because I do so many things, and like right now I'm trying to figure out which direction am I supposed to be going because there's so much going on. I lost some information on some things I was just working on, so I had to take that and toss it out, but with that in mind, I am still trying to figure out some other things and still trying to move forward. And I want to take this opportunity to turn on the spirit box for you all and listen to what has to be said. So with that in mind, here we go.
That's how we hear.
Well, I guess with that in mind, he wants there to be a little bit of word about the anniversary and what that is. Well, it is something I'll try to make an additional video on, but it's a date where everything happens, where everything takes place, where everything is joined and brought together on this very particular day. And on this particular day, all these events come to pass, and it's still something that I'm trying to grab and grasp my entire head around, because there's so many pieces and bits and parts of information that goes along with all of that, that it's then understanding the complexity of everything for what it is, why it is, and etc., that all these things take place the way they do, the reason for what they do, and all this just occurs. But I guess I'm going to stop rambling right now and conclude this message. So with that in mind, peace out.